Well, hello, everybody. It's your boy, Sam again, aka the Train Mother Main. My tapes and glapes and bapes and flapes. Ow! 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 If you don't like my intro, well, I don't know what to tell you, but I'm glad that you're here. So I'm coming at you with another how-to video. I do plan on doing as many of these as possible, only with stuff that's really interesting. If you are a long-time subscriber, you've seen, this is my fourth layout. You've seen how I do a lot of things, but you've never really seen how I actually do them. I've kind of been more of the vlogger style, like just showing you the stuff that I've done after it's done. Only really a couple of times have I walked you through how and why I'm actually doing what I do. So today I started a project that's pretty involved, and I'm like, you know what, let me document this. I'm also really close to being able to monetize my channel. YouTube's parameters are pretty strict. I have another YouTube channel for fishing, and I've had that monetized for years, 5-6 years now, but in the past 5-6 years, the ratio of views and subscribers and watch hours that you need versus the size of your channel to actually qualify for monetization has like doubled or tripled. So I really appreciate if you watch all my videos to the end, or even just, let them loop and play. I don't expect to get rich making these videos, but definitely would be nice just to make a few passive dollars on videos that I'm making either way. So just wanted to point that out. What I'm doing today is making a road. So road crossing and then some parking lot over here, or, just industrial parking area for this lumber mill scene. Also doing the interior, like shop, garage, floor, whatever you want to call it, for this little building. I want to put some a light in there and some actual stuff like pallets and barrels and whatever to make it look realistic inside, because I have the opportunity to, as well as do a little paved lot around here. So as you can see, it's kind of involved. It's a 3-track crossing. I have a switch here and there's a switch here. So this lines up like almost perfect to just kind of come straight across here. My foam Terraform kind of came out a little too far, so I kind of X-Actoed that back, and I'm going to do some retaining walls, kind of match this scene over here. Probably over here, we'll get to that some other time. So 3-track crossing, and then the road coming on in, and then parking lot, some more parking lot, and the shop floor. I do plan to continue that over into here. I'm not sure what I want to do in here as far as with the cement, because there's going to be lots of grassy weed areas with wood piles and logs and blah, blah, blah. If you go watch my older layout videos, my previous 2 layouts, I did have a logging scene, so kind of take what you will from those, and I'm just trying to make this like the upgraded version. So I'm going to leave this for now, and I can always add on to it later. This is a pretty heavy-duty project in itself. So what it's actually going to look like is very similar to this. I'm going to do it a little bit of a lighter color, and I'll show you the diesel shop facility too. It's a lighter color, but here you have parking lot and the road and the paved crossing, as well as the street running industrial park track. You can see I tried to make the road look like it had been cracked and tarred over, and it's kind of rough. Some chipped spots. This isn't 100% complete. I did just kind of do like the basic ground cover here. That I do plan to, make it look even more realistic. And then the really beat up crossing going into the gravel or cement company. But if you look at it from above, it really makes the scene. Honestly, from all the angles and the work I put into it, this probably is my favorite scene that I've ever done, model railroad wise. I just think, I know people can do better, but in my opinion, it's just very realistic. Like I said, I still have a lot of detail to add, but even just getting down here in like the back alley kind of feel with the, you know, warehouse and the bushes and the track. And obviously we're focusing on the roads here, but you can see how the proper looking road and parking lot really makes the scene pop. So just trying to give you all the angles. This is what we're going to be doing today, but over on the other side of the layout. And like I said, there's just this one scene alone, there's like 15 different angles, especially when I have my little switcher in here working these industries. I'm going to detail up right in here a lot better, but like I said, just looking at it, it really takes the cake in my book. So I digress. Let me just show you over here real quick too. The diesel shop, I do have 3 locomotives in there right now. Some little pieces of scenery like a canister and little toolbox type thing. But I did do the same thing I want to do for the inside of the shop over there. But the way that I do things is different than how I've seen other people do it. A lot of people will put the tape down, which I did, and I'll show you all that here in a second, and then put their coat of, I'm going to use this DAP drywall compound. I've used it for years and years, and I love it for several things, including these. They'll put their tape down, which I already did. I don't think you needed to see me spending an hour taping and X-Actoing the tape so I get that nice clean edge and all that. And then they'll let it dry and then peel up the tape. I do it a little bit differently, and I'll show you exactly why when we get to that step. But so the first thing I did, like I said, you didn't need to see me taping, but I use small sections of tape, not long ones, because it's a lot easier to manipulate with just little 5 or 6 inch sections instead of 1 2-foot section. And I got it as close to the ground as I can. Obviously on the track, you can't get it down all the way in there, but you want that nice lip completely flush with the actual base that you're working on. I bought this N-scale road like 3 layouts ago, and it's not realistic, and I don't like the way it looks on people's layouts that I've seen. No offense to anybody, but it's just not my thing. It is N-scale, so including over there at the industrial park, when I make a road, what I do, since this is N-scale, I just set it down and tack it in place, and then I made the tape as wide as the road would be if I actually put the road down. So it's going to be the same width, still within that N-scale realm, and it really just, you know, is more of a template, which is fine. And as you can see, it comes up through here, and then once it gets up to this point, it opens up into more of a parking lot. We'll go inside, and then there's the footprint of the building. As I said, the footprint of the building is the inside. If you look at these edges, you know, whatever they are, 2 millimeters wide, you want the building to sit around the foundation, not on top of the foundation. So when it's sitting down there, pretend the blue is the ground. That's the edge of the building. You don't want any concrete or drywall compound coming out of that. You want it to fit the inside footprint. So that's what I did. I just took some pencils and measured. You could see that I took X-Acto knives, which super handy, especially just for cutting this nice easy tape. I want it to look nice and rectangular and professional because it was obviously done by professionals, and if this was real life. I'm only coming back as far as here because this will be a nice little scene for some detail stuff. I'm also only coming out to here, and right over here is where this siding comes in. So it's rectangled and squared off over there, but I'm just following the curve of the rail bed. You want that tape to be as flush in as many spots as possible. And again, a lot of people will just put their putty down and then let it dry and then peel up the tape. I do it a different way, and it works out much better for me. I've found that if you let it dry for 2 days and then peel it up, you are pulling up sections of what's finished with it, little chunks. So, you know, if I pull it up and this is a nice straight line and there's any bit of tape or too much compound that went over onto the tape, when I peel it up, it'll peel up what's actually supposed to stay behind. And it's, when I did it with the road over here, it was a nightmare. So it kind of looks like it's unfinished or potholey along the sides, but that was actually unintentional. That was because I let too much putty go onto the tape, and when I pulled it up finished chunks with it. But I like the look of it. It just kind of was an accident. And so now when I do that, I'd rather do it on purpose. So if I want to make this crappy looking, I'll do that by hand after it's perfect when I pull the tape up. So my style of things is I'm going to get all the putty down and then make sure it's exactly as smooth as I want it and it's covering the surface area. And then this is another reason why to use smaller sections of tape instead of long ones. And then as it's wet, I just go ahead and peel up right along the entire border. And since it's wet, there's nothing to pull with it. It leaves a perfectly crisp, clean edge. And then it sets on its own and dries. If it cracks a little bit, which this stuff is known to do, at least once it's done, you still have your forms, looks correct. And I just honestly take a little paintbrush and fill in the cracks before I come back and sand and paint it, which will be at the end of this video. Pretty straightforward and easy. Everything inside the stencil, the tape obviously being the stencil is what I'm filling in, and we'll go from there. I do recommend trying not to get as much as possible on the tape, just so when you pull it up, the tape's light and heavy and doesn't sag, but pretty simple. So less is more. Just kind of start spreading it around. You can always add more later. There's no purpose to just start gooping it up everywhere. Keep in mind it's also N scale and it doesn't need to be 3 scale feet high. Even just a millimeter thick or 2 will do the job. So let me get some of this in here and then I'll show you what it looks like. So you can see I've got it filled in, the entire stencil. As I say, the stencil is what's inside the tape. I'm gonna go over and smooth it all out now. I'm also gonna fill in the rest of the track. That's gonna be the time-consuming one. So let me finish putting the rest of this down. I'll fill in the track area and then smooth it out, and then I'll check back in. But as you can see, like I said, not too much on the tape, as much as possible, or as little as possible, I should say. And then we'll smooth it out, and then I'll peel up the tape and show you the reason why I do it this way. So let me just finish this. We'll give it a nice smoothing. Keep in mind too, I want to make it as smooth as humanly possible before it sets, which is fine, I have time. But keep in mind, knowing that I'm going to sand it to make it look even flatter. So some spots, like over here is pretty good already. There's a couple little spots I want to kind of work out. If there's a couple craters, fill them in as best you can, but that's also kind of realism too. So if there's something like this big seam right here, I'm going to sand that, but a little like divot like that, or a little how you doing over here, some of the stuff I kind of like leaving. I showed you that road over on the industrial park, and it's kind of the imperfections that give it that zest. So, all right, let me finish this and I'll check back in with you. All right, so we're back, and it's kind of hard to tell because it's reflecting from the light above, but I've got the entirety of the project done as far as filling in the stencil area. Worth noting, obviously it's a lot more difficult when doing it with track involved, so I always try and scrape the tops of the rails to see the metal. So once this is all dry, I will take just like a little file and go along the inside of the rails to clear the flangeways. All right, so like I said, use small sections, keep it perfect on the seam of where you're trying to do on the inside, but then just peel it up very, very slowly. So let me do this. I'll probably time lapse this as well and then show you what's left behind. Well, I'm not one to usually brag or gloat, but that is impressive, isn't it? So you could see the parking lot. I showed you all the tape lines, the stencil, the frame of the building on the inside, the little driveway to go in the garage, the perfect shape that I wanted, and then the road all the way up through the tracks. And this is always the scariest part because you've got tracks. Like I said, I have a switch right there, and then there's another switch right there. That's why I like to pull it up while it's still wet, because it makes that perfect crisp edge. I mean, it's exactly how I stenciled it. I took a pencil and it took me like an hour to draw the exact shapes and outlines of the buildings and where I wanted it to go, and then to tape it and take your time and try and make it as perfect as possible. And the results are proof in the pudding. So again, it's not 1,000% perfect. There's a little bit of overflow right there. Oh well. I kind of mangled this corner just a bit. Oh well, I fixed it and I'll sand it out. The road's not perfect. It's a little bit too high right here, but you see what I'm saying? That's all manageable stuff. So I'm gonna let this set for 24 hours at least, if not, probably closer to 2 days. We'll see where it cracks. I'll come back in and I'll show you how I just fill that in with a simple paintbrush. We'll let that set, and then we'll come back and paint and detail this up. So again, super easy. Stencil it, fill it in, smooth it out, and then peel up the tape very slowly, and you get that nice, damn near perfectly clean edge. Like I said, it's not perfect, but this spot there was just a little bit too much. But you can see up in here, I mean, it's about as straight as it gets. This corner I butched a little bit, and up here I butched a little bit, but look at it from above, it's perfect. So I outdid myself, but good, that's what I wanted to do. So, all right, we'll see you tomorrow or whenever. All right, so it is the next day, and everything has cured up pretty well. As you can see, this came out perfectly. I can literally not even move the building because the little lip catches it. The driveway goes right inside. Doesn't hang out on either side. So it's exactly how I wanted it to be. And then this came out pretty dang well too. This has more of like a little curved edge, the base. So I just squared it off. Looks real well. Like I said, I'll come in here and sand all this. Should be an easy job, 10 seconds. It probably looks more profound than it actually is on camera. I'm trying to move slow so you could see. Everything came out nice. And then over here, this is where it got thicker. So anytime you use this stuff, it's going to crack a little bit. And it usually only tends to do so where you have a lot. So this was like 1/2 inch deep versus 1 millimeter deep. So as it dries and contracts, it kind of pulls. So I'm going to go through and fix this with a paintbrush and drywall putty. And I'll show you exactly how I do that. So I just got a little hobby brush here. Literally all we're going to do is get some. And we're going to just rub that over the cracks. Nice and simple. So we're just trying to fill in those cracks as good as possible. No need to use a big putty knife or egregious amounts. It's all just mainly surface. So let me finish up this. Get in these spots over here. It's going to take me probably 5 minutes. Then we'll check back in and let it dry, but I'll show you the finished product here in a second. But it works perfect. All right, back in action. So it's going to look a little wet and uneven because I just put a fresh coat on top. But you can see, filled in all the major cracks. It's a little not as smooth as it was when I finished it yesterday, but that's because I was adding more to what's already done. So we'll let this set. I'll come back and check it this evening, but odds are I'll just give it another 24 hours. And then we will sand it down, get the flangeways open, which I got the tops of the rails pretty good already. Getting the flangeways open, just using an X-Acto knife. We'll sand it down, we'll vacuum it up, and then we will go ahead and paint it. So again, really happy with the way it came out. Definitely, I just love like looking at it too. It's just so pleasing to the eye. So hang tight, and next will be the rewarding stage, actually getting it going. I haven't really worked on this scene at all. I put the track work in and have the buildings placed kind of where I want them. I guess now these two are permanent because I built it that way. It's where I want them, but this is the first real work I've done on this scene itself beyond just the track work and the basic landscaping. So excited to see it come together. And yeah, so stay tuned. All right, so we're back. It is day 3 of this project because it's not something you can accomplish in one day. I took the liberty of sanding all of this already. You can see a train is passing through without issue. So let's get a nice look. Everything's just about where I want it to be. As I said, I did leave some of the little divots and whatnot, a couple of the little wrinkles just to give it that more realistic, this is an old kind of road type feel. I've sanded between the rails, and what I do to clear my flangeways is I have this little jeweler file. You can buy them at Dollar Tree or on Amazon. You could probably buy like a 20 pack of different sizes on Amazon for cheap. And I just put it right in here up next to the flangeway and sand it down. Obviously you don't need much, and it clears them out super nice. Trains run through all 3 crossings. So here I'll get you another little action shot. Perfectly nice and smooth. I tested all 3, made sure everything flows right. Let me get all my paint stuff set up and whatnot, and we'll get her looking nice. These are just basic acrylic paints. You can buy them on Amazon. I think Amazon Basics has acrylic paints. Those are most of the ones that I have. I'm using a white and then a Mars black, and I'm going to mix them on my little Dollar Tree easel here, a couple different size brushes. I like to use these colors. I'll start with black and add white to it in little amounts until I get that nice gray or tar or whatever shade you're going for. Over here I have more of that tar asphalt kind of look with some patched potholes and cracks, and you know, there's been some repair crews in here, let's just say. Over here for the diesel shop floor, I kind of went with more traditional concrete look, so that was more gray. Let me mix up my paint to my liking. Obviously you can do the same, however you prefer. I'll paint this up and then show you the finished product. Well, it's late afternoon and I painted it, and I did some edge work with some brown just to blend it better so it stands alone. And I think we are looking pretty good. So start back here at the crossings. I will have to go sand the rails again. And then there's a little bit of cleanup work I'll have to do with some extra ballast on this side. I did get a little too much paint over there, but that's not a huge deal. And then obviously I'll scenic all around it. Up over here, I'm gonna put in some retaining wall. And again, there's a little bit too much paint on the sides, but it'll all be scenic. And just to clean up the edges, make it nice and clear, because there is that very gradual drop off, I blended some black paint with some brown paint to kind of taper it away. And obviously this will all be scenic as well. You can see there are a few of those little patch marks and potholes and whatnot. I'll go over with some wet black paint and kind of make them a little different shades at some point, but the overall goal is complete. Again, not perfect, but definitely as realistic as it's gonna get. Some people could probably do it much better, but as far as for my skill level, I think I couldn't be any happier with it. So here it is with the buildings back. As you can see, the driveway goes perfectly into the warehouse. No concrete or foundation, whatever you want to call it, comes out the sides. It's the perfect fit. The road goes right in and fills it out nicely. Got some room under here as well. Goes right up to here perfectly. And then, like I said, at some point, I'll just do it in a layout update. I'll probably make a crossing here and do some sort of parking lot over here. I'm just not 100% sure how I want it to look. But like I said, I hadn't really worked on this scene at all. This is a great start, and I'm super stoked on it. So if you like this, let me know. If you hate it, let me know. If you see anything you think I could do better or have any tips or tricks, Tony Hawk style, let me know. I'm all for constructive criticism or negative criticism. If it is helpful, please like, subscribe, say hello. If you have stuff you want me to check out, let me know. If not, I hope you enjoyed this, and we will see you on the next one. Train Maine.